Hello everyone, Steph Williams here. Welcome to another crafty card tutorial. Today I am so excited to be sharing some amazing news with you. Over the last week I have hit my anniversary for doing YouTube tutorials. I hit my 100th blog post on my blog, and to make things more exciting, I am now the first official magic maker for hobby hoppers. This is an amazing small Aussie business that stock heaps of wonderful things, including Lawn Fawn. I'm going to be sharing more on this throughout the video. But first up, let's look at today's card, which is my very first project as a design team member for Hobby Hoppers. To get started, I'm going to get all of my dies and stamps together. I got this adorable pop-up thanks from Hobby Hoppers. I'm using some mice from the Virtual Friends, the mice from the Bubbles of Joy, the little mouse from Love Poems. I did check that all of these sets are currently available at the time of this video on the Hobby Hoppers website, and I'm also using a much older stamp set for these little party hats. Although I have seen that there is some party hats coming in the new Lawn Fawn release too, which we'll talk about in a minute. To get started, I'm going to be stamping out all of these little mice. I stamp all of my images twice so that the outlines for my little stamps are nice and clear and dark. I decided for this card that I would make this look like a bit of a party scene. I've got lots to celebrate this week, there's so much going on. And I thought it would be really cute if all of these little mice were surrounded by cute little letters and envelopes, because really that's what I'm surrounded with all the time. Whether it be what I'm making or what people are sending me. There is just so much happy mail going in and out of my house all the time. And it's all because of what I do with my craft. So I thought these excited little mice would just look so sweet if they were celebrating all of these milestones with us. So for my colouring today, I'm doing what I always do, using both a mix of regular alcohol markers and my Copic markers. I do some very basic shading, using a lighter colour, going in with my darker colour for the shadowy areas, and then going back in with that lighter colour over the top to blend it all out. I feel like this method is fantastic if you are a beginner with colouring with markers, or if you don't have a lot of time to spend on each card, much like me. And while we're chatting, while I colour in, I thought I would tell you a little bit more about Hobby Hoppers. So this is a small Melbourne-based business, and it's run by Trish. It is a one-woman show, which just amazes me because each time I have ordered from there, I am always amazed at how promptly I get my notifications that my order has shipped, which is exactly what you want, especially if you have found that missing piece of Lawn Fawn for your collection. In addition to everything being prompt, my parcels have always arrived perfectly. My stamps and dies are often sandwiched between 2 layers of cardboard to ensure that nothing gets bent and creased as it travels to me, which is fantastic, especially if you deal with Ozpost regularly. This is very handy. And speaking of shipping, at the time that I am recording this, Hobby Hoppers does free shipping for Australians for orders over $50, which is fantastic, especially with the new Lawn Fawn release coming up. I'd like to say that maybe I wasn't going to spend more than $50, but if you know me by now, it's no question at all that I will be reaching the limit for free shipping, probably multiple times over. The shop also stocks plenty of other things like adhesives, cords, inks, Nuvo drops. There is also a huge and amazing collection of washi tapes. Something that might not be very well known about me is that before I got into stamping, after having my son to get back into being creative, I actually started with planning. And my planner days are where most of my washi collection came from. But obviously, one of my favourite things in the store is the Lawn Fawn collection, and Trish keeps it very up to date with the latest release. And so this is where I'm obviously going to be grabbing my new release items from in just a few days. So if you're an Aussie, make sure you check out the store and keep it in mind for when the new release goes live. As you can see, this is one of the first cards in a long time where I have let myself go full rainbow. I have a terrible history of going overboard with rainbow colours, so much so that my cards look messy because I've tried to include every colour and balance it out so that there's the same amount of every colour, and it just never works out for me. So I try to do a lot of research into like basic colour schemes to keep everything neat, but I feel like every now and then I've gained just enough self-control where I'm allowed to do a rainbow card and it doesn't look too bad. Once I'm done with all of my colouring, I then go over all of my images with my Jelly Roll pens. Today I'm using the 0.8 to give all of these little creatures and all of the little letters some white highlights. I find this just brightens up my images a lot. I love making their little eyes shiny and to have those little extra dots on those cheeks to give everything just a little bit more dimension. With all of the fun stuff happening on the inside of this card, I needed to do a background inside it. So for this, I'm keeping it super simple. I'm using a bunch of distress inks in bright colors. I'm popping just a little bit down on my craft mat, watering it down with my paintbrush, and then sprinkling it all over. This kind of gives it a bit of a rainbow confetti look. To make things a little bit sparkly, because I just can't help it, I'm using my white gold watercolor pigment and sprinkling that over the top as well. It might be hard to see in the video, but it adds so much sparkle. I'm also repeating all these steps for the front of my card. My card fronts when I do pop-up cards are often very simple because there's already so much going on the inside. I don't really feel the need to go all out for the outside. I kind of like to give a little hint as to what's going to happen. Now for the inside, I've taken some of this Lawn Fawn rainbow paper and I've used my Thanks pop-up die. This is the first of these dies that I have purchased, so I'm really excited to give this a go. And because it was so easy to use, I'm probably going to get a few more. I really want to get Hooray and maybe Be Merry. But I'd love to know, if you have any of these, which one is your favorite so far? I think I went with Thanks because it's probably going to be the most versatile and one that I can get a lot of use out of. But I also feel like Hooray would be fantastic for everybody's birthdays. Because I had used such bright colours for that paper, I thought it would look nice to cut out my coordinating letters in black. So I've owned these letters for a very long time, the Oliver's Stitched ABCs. They're probably my favourite Lawn Fawn alphabet set, or at least my most used. I feel like that stitching detail just makes it look so amazing. It's just extra detail without you having to do extra work. So I'm going to be layering them on my rainbow paper, and I'm loving how much that stands out. To ensure these adhere nicely, I'm popping my acrylic block over them while they dry. Once that was dry, it was then time to add this to the inside of my card. I'm just using some PVA glue for this, so that I've got a little bit of wriggle room if I don't line it up perfectly on the first go. So I've just glued the very bottom of it first, and I'm making sure that's pushed back into my crease. Once I was happy with that, I then glued on the top too. And there we have it. I just love that so much. Before gluing in all of my little images, I thought I'd better stamp some little sentiments for these letters. So I'm going with things like many thanks, hugs, and XOXO. All ways of saying thank you to everyone who has joined me at any point over the last year in all of this exciting crafting. And so now it's time to stick all of my images in. I'll leave you with some music while I do this. For my sentiment today, I'm using the I'm blown away by your kindness from the Bubbles of Joy stamp set. And although this works wonderfully with the bubbles, it also just works really well as a sentiment on its own. Because you can be just blown away by people's kindness like I have been an immeasurable amount of times over the last year by the crafting community. Now to work on the very front of my card, and like I said, I always keep these pretty simple. So I'm using some leftovers of the same paper that I used on the inside, and I'm using a small stitch scallop circle. I saved one of my little mice, a party hat, and a letter, so that I could have him holding this little letter on the front. And while it did look cute just gluing the letter onto him, I thought it would be even cuter if I cut around his little arm so that he could be physically holding onto it. So here I am just using my craft knife to go around his arm, and I'm going to slip that piece underneath. I'm then going to glue on that adorable little party hat. Once this little guy was stuck onto the circle, I adhered that onto the strip of paper and then in turn adhered that to my card front. And there he is stuck on the front. Isn't he adorable? And he is just a hint at what is to come when you open up the card. And there we have it. This card is complete. I hope you love it. Thank you so much for joining me for my video as the first official magic maker for hobby hoppers. Don't forget to check out that website, especially as we lead up to the new release. I can't wait to show you more of my work soon. So don't forget to like this video if you enjoyed it and subscribe to my channel so that you can see what I make next. Bye for now.